Welcome to Confident AF Live, taking your mindset next level to get next year's results today with me, your host, Brandon Foster. Are you a badass peep with big dreams, ready to turn your unrealistic goals into reality? Confident AF Live is the gateway to enormous new opportunities and unlimited possibilities. The unrealistic can suddenly become realistic for you if you believe it. Are you ready to take your dreams and results to the next level? Then stay tuned as we help crack open the door to new ways of impactful thinking and believing about yourself with mindset practices for badass people like you. Confident AF Live starts right now. All right, boo! I'm so excited to have you for another episode of Confident AF Live. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, I'm not going to go through all of them. Welcome again. Super excited to have you. So I'm excited about today's episode. And today we're talking about desires and what I want you to know about desires. And it's so funny that I'm doing this in September because as I'm speaking it out loud, I feel like this would be so good for February and Valentine's Day. Let's talk about the desires in your hearts. You know, that kind of a thing. That was my sexy voice impersonation, by the way. So today I have a lot about to say. So normally when I do these live podcast episodes, I start to riff. I like to do numbers. So I really like to do 7 because that's God's number. So I really like 7. I really like 3s. This one is more about just riffing. I was driving home yesterday with my husband after seeing his awesome family. And I was like, oh, it's time to do new podcast episodes. What am I going to talk about? And one thing that I love that God has really worked on me with is trusting that he has the answers, trusting he has the solutions. And one of my favorite Bible verses of all time is do not lean on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight, and he gives generously to those who lack knowledge. And I love that because as you grow as a badass business owner, entrepreneur, growing your business, leading your team, it is so nice to know that you don't have to know everything. That is the nicest thing to know. It's God, I don't know. What are we going to do today? And there's always an answer. There's always a solution, which I think is beautiful. And I also think that is, now we're riffing on something not about desires, but we'll come back to desires because apparently y'all need to hear this instead right now. And I really feel like one of the biggest opportunities that we have as leaders and CEOs and people who are growing companies, one of our biggest opportunities is not thinking we have to know all the answers or we have know all the answers, and reminding that every question that we have, there is a divine answer. There's a divine solution to it. So I think that is really, really beautiful. So that's the first thing I want to say today, which leads me to the episode today. And by the way, if you haven't watched the last 4 episodes, they were so they were so good. God was so good. They were amazing. A lot of them had to do with clients and just funky, wonked up energy when it comes to receiving clients paying. It's just a natural piece to shift and move through as a business owner and as a leader. Okay, so let's talk about our desires. And I feel like I want to start by talking about just core beliefs about desires, which has really grown over time. And I will say that I've always had a really good core belief on desires, but I have a deeper level and understanding of desires now than I used to, which is really beautiful. By the way, I just have to say this because y'all probably heard me mention her name before, but I love and adore Amanda Francis. She has this amazing course called Money Mentality Makeover that I took many, many years ago. And I've taken some of her other courses too. And I just have to give her a shout out because I always have my Amanda Francis mug when I do these podcasts. Wait, it's kind of blurry, but it says I'm here on purpose and my work changes lives. And because I'm going to LA soon, if our schedules align, I'm gonna be able to hopefully see her. Just depends on our schedules because I don't live in LA and she does, and she travels and I travel, so we'll see. But if you want another podcast to follow, hers is a great podcast to follow. It's called And She Rises the F Up. Okay, so I say all this to say, because I have taken a lot of what I learned about desires and through my own experiences and some golden nuggets that Amanda taught me about desires. And so this kind of this is like the culmination of like years of this stuff is what this podcast episode is really about. And the thing is we often think that our desires are silly or stupid because society and people judge us for our desires. So case in point, desire as a kid, imagine very cute, like 5-year-old Brandon who is like, goes to the circus and is like, Mom, Dad, I want to be a circus clown. And parents are like, oh my God, that's adorable. Fast forward to like, I'm in the 6th grade and it's like, so what do you want to do when you grow up? And everyone else is like, NFL, athlete, doctor, lawyer. And it's like, Brandon, I want to be a circus clown. And then it's like, okay, great. And then Brandon, high school, what college do you want to go to? Clown college. Great. But we have to go to real college. The point is, I have a lot to say about this in general because often, okay, so here's the core belief I have with desires. I believe your desires are given to you from God as divine guidance of how you're supposed to develop yourself and your gifts and your uniqueness to serve the world. And there is a verse in the Bible that talks about how God uses the people that you don't expect to confound the wise. And I love that so much. If you look at the people who have done like really crazy, amazing things in life and business, they're often never the people that we would expect that would have been able to accomplish it or do that. I think I was reading stats about like Tom Brady, and it was like all of his stats were like average in the combine. I think the combine where, they grade and rate NFL players. If you are a huge NFL guru, then you can correct me, clarify the story because I am not. But I feel like that often happens is like the people that you don't expect to go far, do amazing things, often do the most amazing things because, that's what God does. God loves that's why we exist, right? For grace, to receive divine help. That's why all of my courses talk about co-creation. It's just not just you, it's you and God. So here's the thing. So I grew up in a very like amazing faith-based household, and there were so many good beliefs that were instilled into me. However, the thing about our desires is our friends, our family, our parents do not understand our desires. And when our parents or friends or family, whoever, tell us that can't be right, you can't desire that makes no sense, it's because they don't understand it. And I think the worst thing you can do is to judge someone's desire. Like, I feel like that's the worst thing you can do is judge someone's desire, because like, if I look back at like my desires, I'm like, I don't know why I desired that. Like, that's so weird to me. Like weird. And actually someone I love and adore, actually my coach, Kelly, my own coach that I have, Coach Kelly, she was like, she posted something on Instagram and was like a new definition of weird, which is like amazing. Just people to understand it. It was like divine orchestrated. I don't remember the exact terminology that she used, but I feel like that's what our desires are. Like, I feel like our desires, like things that we inexplicably like want and long for and want to do in our lives, like they are totally from God. Like they don't make sense. And the thing is, they don't have to make sense because God confounds the wise. And they don't have to make sense because we don't know how that's going to lead us to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing to bless our lives. But God does, right? Like divine, all-knowing intelligence, supernatural, unconditional love, of course knows. So it's not that surprising and really not that big of a deal that if you would just follow sometimes the weird, irrational desires in your heart, that they are going to lead to really cool, good, fantastic, and amazing things in your life that you wouldn't understand otherwise. So, case in point, me being a circus clown, because I remember my parents always thought that I would grow out of it, that I would not want to be a circus clown. And I never grew out of it. And I also remember that I had basically figured out a way to convince, well, actually, I should say my parents and I mediated because they finally realized like it was not going away. And so they finally kind of embraced and they said, okay, look, we'll let you go to clown college if you go to regular college first. And obviously the hope was I go to regular college. And then because I go to regular college, I get a normal job and I forget the whole clown thing. And then what was funny about that is, so clown college closed when I was in high school, and it was like, my parents were like, now he doesn't worry about that anymore. He doesn't want to do it. And it was like, for a period, like I was like, I don't know how to do it. And I don't think I can do it because that door is shut. But like secretly, like the desire never went away. Like the desire was always there. And so I ended up literally going to college and remember, like, I just got to figure out if I can do it. And I found out that I could still apply and still do it. Parents were not happy because they were paying for my college, which is very generous of them. And so they gave like what is it called? They gave me a choice. They said, you can finish college and not be a clown, and we'll finish paying for a college degree, or you can quit college and then go be a clown. And their big fear and worry was that I was not going to develop my fullest potential of who God created me to be in terms of like my IQ, my smartness, my talent, like what I had to give the world, which, from a parental perspective, I can totally appreciate and understand, because as a leader, like that is one of my big things as a CEO is like, I don't like my team to underestimate themselves. And I don't like to see anybody on my team not developing their fullest potential, because I know how much of badasses that they are. And that drives me crazy. So I completely understand and admire where they're coming from. The thing is like, it never went away. I ended up graduating from college and then got a really amazing job, which I actually really did love the amazing job, but like I still wanted to be a circus clown. It was like, it was never going to go away until I did it. Like it was inexplainable. It would never go away until I do it. So I say this is that like I had a lot of people question like the legitimacy of it. There was like fears of like everybody in the circus is like doing things for the applause of men. They're not doing it for God. There was like beliefs of like, you're wasting your talent. You're just like all these ideas and beliefs about how that was a bad decision and that it was definitely not divinely orchestrated for me and not what I was supposed to do. And looking back is one of the best things that I could ever done. And not to say that there wasn't like a very, very hard and challenging time at times in the circus, because it's also when I came out. So there was a lot of trauma and turmoil centered around all that stuff. But it was also where I really started to be who I was and my uniqueness. And looking back on it, so many good things have come from that time period. And I also believe too, like any choice or situation that we choose has an opportunity for God to turn into incredible blessings and incredible good for our lives and use it in an amazing way. But I say this because as a business owner, sometimes we don't understand like why our desires are what they are, whether it's desire to like grow your social media accounts or reach a certain number of sales or like get a certain like status or whatever. Like, so it is really helpful to not judge our desires and to realize that our desires inform us of what we want, and they allow us to grow as human beings and individuals. And remember, growth is always tied to your relationship with the divine, because I'm a huge proponent of co-creation. So I feel like they're all intrinsically linked. And the main point of this whole story of me and circus and all that kind of stuff is you never need to feel like you owe anybody explanation about why you desire something. When you just know and appreciate that your desires are from, because here's the thing, who put that in my heart? Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's the other thing that I want people to understand about this whole story. It wasn't like I woke up and said, I decided to want to be a circus clown. It was just like deep within my soul. Like, I'm just meant to do that. And it's like, now deep within my soul, I'm meant to do this. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I remember when I first started practicing mindset and really practicing it as 8th grade language arts teacher. And I was like, this is not this, like, I am supposed to teach, but I'm not supposed to teach 8th grade English. Like, I am supposed to teach mindset to the world, how to believe in who God created them to be, that God loves and adores them, that he has their back, that they can step into that fully in faith without fear, worry, or doubt, and that there's always another level. And it was like, this is leading me to that, but I don't know how. And the how, now I realize like the how is never your responsibility. It's just to trust. Like, I have an amazing one-on-one coaching client, and like on paper, if she was to write down everything about her new job that she just got, like the pay, the leadership, the opportunities, the salary, like if she was to write it all down on paper, it's like anybody would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But because of the industry that it's in, it would be like other people could potentially judge it as like, oh, well, that's not the best industry to be in. And I actually played this game with her, and I was like, you're assigning meaning to this as not being as big of a deal as it actually is because of the labels that society told you to place on, you know, this company or this job or what have you. And let's not do that, because you're actually missing an incredible opportunity to celebrate and be really, really, really grateful. So desires are meant from us, from God. We don't know anyone an explanation about why we have the desires. I would also encourage you to not share your desires with people until you are so sure of your desire and that it's meant for you and that it's safe. That way, if people do disagree with you or think it's silly or think it's crazy, that it doesn't bother you. Because if it bothers you, then you haven't accepted the desire and realized that it's divine guidance of like where you're supposed to go do next and what you're supposed to do. So allow your desires just to be your desires and want them. The other thing I want to talk about is, oh yeah, let's just talk about this really quick. So going back to, and I'm looking down because I wrote these notes, so I want to make sure I don't miss anything for this podcast episode. So people won't understand them and they don't need to. And I want to say that your true desires, like your true heartfelt desires, they will just like never die. Like they will not die until you do it. And I feel like the reason why they don't die is because the manifestation or the realization of those desires, aka achieving the goal, achieving the dream, reaching those sales, reaching that point, being able to do that, that journey between where you are today and between doing that is like the journey of your relationship with God and your faith and you growing, not just practically, but mentally as well. In fact, you know, quantum leaping is really just like taking your bigger desires, and instead of like going for the small ones first, you just go right to the big ones and asking, how can I do that? And how that ties into the beginning of this podcast is I talked about the power of asking questions. So when you ask different questions, like, so instead of asking questions about the small steps to get to the big place, if you start asking questions about how can I get to the big place, then that's how you quantum leap, because God will give you whatever answers you're asking for, but it's going to be dependent upon the questions that you ask. The questions you ask is dependent upon the faith that you have. And so I think one of the most beautiful things you can do is start to lean into your desires and follow that intuition and trust it and let God do the heavy lifting. And you just take the practical inspired action and just watch it unfold. So your desires will never die. So, I went to film school and I have a master's in screenwriting. I have written many scripts, many pilots, many screenplays. From the world's perspective, have not made it yet. But I'm also like not in any rush to do those things right now. Like, I so love what I'm doing, but I also know the desire has never gone away. And at the right time in the right place, it's going to unfold perfectly and beautifully. And I also know that it's closer than ever has been before. And that has rung true with everything that I've ever done in my life. So like, in my heart of hearts, like, I knew I would always be a circus clown. I just didn't know when or how. And the desire never went away. My desire to do what I'm doing now has not gone away. In fact, it's grown and it keeps wanting to expand in this really amazing and beautiful way. So your desires will never die. So to fight yourself with your desires because other people don't like them or don't understand them or they judge them is a waste of time and it's a waste of energy. I also just want to like say too that like society judges us for wanting nicer things. Society judges us for like wanting to have like an amazing husband, wife, or significant other who's also beautiful or good looking, or like judges us for wanting to make more money or judges us for wanting to have higher sales when other people look at what we have and they go, but you already have so much. Like, why would you want more? And when you realize that like a core belief of life is like you're meant to grow. So it's not that you are ungrateful for what you have. This is my next big point of desires. Having a new desire, like wanting more money or wanting nicer clothes or wanting a nicer car or wanting a better body, none of those desires are inherently bad or wrong. It's growth. It's just wanting to go to another level in your life. What you have to realize is that oftentimes people guilt or shame us for our desires because they assign labels to what those desires mean. You're greedy, or you're not happy with the body that God created for you, or like whatever it is. And so I think it's worth really examining what is this desire like really about? And also, why wouldn't God want the best for us? So like, why wouldn't God want us to have someone that we love and adore who's also good looking in our eyes? And by the way, good looking is subjective anyway, isn't it? Of course it is. And I feel like there's more to say about that, but I feel like that's good. You should forgive yourself for feeling guilty about your desires. That's the main thing. Forgive yourself for forgive yourself for feeling guilty about your desires and for labeling it as that you're ungrateful. You're not ungrateful. You love and appreciate everything that God gave you. And the more that you love and appreciate that God gave you, it becomes natural, and you start to normally desire like another level of God's love, grace, and abundance in your life. Like, that is perfect. That is fine. That is natural. And that next level sometimes looks like having a bigger house. Sometimes that next level looks like having a smaller house and paying off all debt. Sometimes that next level looks like both. Like, it just depends on what you really, really want and what is really going to serve you. And I really feel like what our wants and our needs and what we desire is all based on what we believe is going to be a manifestation of God's love showing up in our life in a new way than we ever experienced before. That is really, really cool. So for me, because I had the desire of being a circus clown for so long, and then desire to go into film school, and the desire to do what I'm doing now and have like my own radio show, my own podcast, all those things, was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I can't wait to see how this has grown. So that's number 2 or 3, whatever we're on there. And then the last thing I want to say about your desires is they're never going to end. So what happens is if your desire, because here's what desires do. This is the last piece. Desires inspire us to take action to receive something on a brand new level. That is growth. Desires inspire us to take action on a whole new level. And when we're inspired to take action on a whole new level, we are forced to step outside of our comfort zone and do things we haven't done before, which means we are forced to overcome new fears, which means we are forced to step into new levels of faith and trust in God and who he created us to be. And that is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing in the world. So that's what I have to say about desires. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Brandon R. Foster. Make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube at Brandon R. Foster Coaching, and be in all the places, and all the things. If you haven't joined the exclusive private Facebook community, make sure you join that too. Confident AF Mindset Practices. This is not beginner's mindset, kindergarten mindset, I can do it mindset. This is next level mindset practices that the top 1% uses. I love you and have an amazing day. You have been listening to Confident AF Live, taking your mindset next level to get next year's results today with host Brandon Foster on transformationtalkradio.com. Listen or watch live every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, where I help badasses like you with big dreams learn to take their impact and results next level, turning those unrealistic goals into reality. Confident AF Live is the gateway to enormous new opportunities and unlimited possibilities. For more information, get in touch with me, Brandon, at BrandonRFoster.com.